10,000 talents, a fortune that would take an ordinary worker 160,000 years to earn. This man owed it all and heard one word, forgiven. He walked out the door, and the first thing he did was grab someone by the neck who owed him 3 months' wages. Matthew records this scene with unsettling precision. Peter had just asked a question he thought was generous. How many times should I forgive my brother? Up to 7 times? In rabbinic tradition, forgiving 3 times was already considered magnanimous. Peter doubled it and added one more. He expected praise. Jesus responded with a number that shattered calculations. 70 times 7. 490 times. An account no one can keep. And that was precisely the point. The forgiveness Jesus describes doesn't fit in any spreadsheet. To illustrate the magnitude of what he was saying, Jesus told a story. A king decided to settle accounts with his servants. They brought before him a man who owed 10,000 talents. This number needs context. 1 talent equaled 6,000 denarii. A denarius was a day's wages for a laborer. 10,000 talents, then, represented 60 million days of work, more than 160,000 years, the entire budget of a Roman province. Matthew chose this number deliberately. It was the largest sum the Greek language could express in monetary terms, combined with the largest numeral used in common counting. The man's debt was, by definition, unpayable. The king ordered that the man, his wife, his children, and all he owned be sold. And even then, the account wouldn't be settled. The sale of an entire family would cover only a minuscule fraction of that debt. The servant fell to his knees, face to the ground, words stumbling out. "Give me time, and I will pay you everything." An impossible promise. He knew it. The king knew it. Everyone in the room knew it. That man would never pay it back. And here Matthew uses a Greek word that changes everything. Splanchnistheis. The verb comes from splanchna, the guts, the innards. It wasn't pity. It wasn't calculation. The king's compassion came from deep within, a churning in the stomach at the sight of that face on the ground. He released the man, forgave the debt entirely. No term, no installment, no guarantor. 60 million days of labor erased in a single sentence. Before continuing with what happened next, there is another scene, separated by centuries but linked by the same logic. The prophet Daniel records the moment Azariah stood in a furnace. Real fire, real flames. And instead of crying for help, Azariah opened his mouth and prayed. His prayer begins with a request that sounds strange for someone who is burning. Do not undo your covenant. Azariah knew the condition of his people. We are reduced to the smallest of all peoples, he said, without leaders, without prophets, without guide, without a place to offer sacrifice. The list is long, and each item weighs heavily. He was describing complete failure, spiritual, political, liturgical. The people had lost everything. But Azariah did something the servant in the parable also did. He fell before authority and asked for mercy. The difference, and this difference is the heart of everything, is in what came after the request. Azariah said, With a contrite soul and a humble spirit, may we be accepted. He offered the only thing left, his own broken heart. No lambs, no bulls, no fattened sheep. Contrition became the sacrifice. And then he added a phrase that works as a key to understanding the entire gospel. From now on, we want to follow you with all our heart, to fear you, to seek your face. Azariah did not negotiate. He surrendered. Psalm 24 echoes this movement with different words. Remember, Lord, your compassion. May your truth guide and direct me. The psalmist asks for paths, for roads, for guidance, all language of someone admitting they are lost. And in the midst of the psalm, a declaration that ties both readings together. The Lord is mercy and righteousness, and he directs sinners to the right path. He guides the humble in justice, the humble, those who know they owe, those who stop calculating and ask. Now, back to the parable. The forgiven servant left the throne room. The debt of 160,000 years canceled. The burden of a lifetime of generations removed. He crossed the door as a free man and encountered a fellow servant, someone who owed him 100 denarii, 100 days' wages, a real concrete amount payable in a few months. Matthew describes the gesture with a brutal word, ekratesson, seized. The verb indicates physical force, dominance. He grabbed the man by the neck and began to choke him. Pay what you owe me. The fellow servant fell at his feet, used the same words. Give me time, and I will pay you. The same plea, the same posture, the same face on the ground. The scene is a perfect mirror. Every detail repeats what had happened minutes earlier in the king's room. But now the one hearing the plea is the man who had just been forgiven. And he refused, had him thrown into prison. The other servants saw everything. Matthew says they were deeply distressed. The Greek word is elapetesson, a mourning that borders on indignation. They went to the king and told him. The king called the servant back. And the question he asked is the question that runs through the text and reaches those listening now. Shouldn't you also have had compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had compassion on you? The king used the word poneros to describe the servant, wicked. The wickedness here is specific. It's not violence, it's not theft, it's something worse. Receiving mercy and withholding mercy, being forgiven and refusing to forgive. The king handed the servant over to the torturers. True faith leaves a mark. Jesus closed the parable looking at Peter. This is how my Father will treat you unless you forgive your brother from your heart. The Greek expression is apoton kardion himon, from your hearts. The forgiveness Jesus describes begins in the guts, the same place the king's compassion came from. Splanchna, the depths of the body, the place where the decision costs. Azariah, in the fire, understood that the only possible offering was the broken heart. The psalmist asked God to remember his compassion, and the answer came. He guides sinners back, directs the humble. The servant in the parable received this guidance, this direction, this visceral compassion, and chose to keep it all to himself. Peter's question was about mathematics. How many times? Jesus answered with anatomy. Forgiveness resides in the same organ as gratitude. When one hardens, the other dies as well. Those who receive mercy and lock it within themselves turn grace into poison. Those who let it pass on discover that 70 times 7 is only the beginning of an account that never needs to close, because the original debt has already been canceled by someone who felt compassion in the guts. True faith leaves a mark. Lord, our debt before you is greater than any number can express. Teach us to forgive from the depths, from the same place where your compassion comes. May the mercy we receive pass through us without finding a locked door. Amen. If this reflection touched something in you, leave a like. That's how more people find this video. And if you want to keep it to listen to again on a hard day, save it. This channel exists for that. Subscribe and hit the bell. Each video is an added layer to this reading. The video appearing now continues this conversation about what it means to live within the mercy already given. It's worth